All right, so in this week's guitar lesson, we're going to take a look at some real-world jam scenarios. These are things you can do with an acoustic guitar when you're playing with other people, whether that be in like a bluegrass jam or sitting around with friends at a campfire or whatever it is. There's always a rhythm component and a lead component, and it's good to have embellishments around both. And so we're going to start off by looking at a rhythm component. So the first half, we're going to look at rhythm down in first position, those cowboy chords that we're going to start off with, and we're going to look at some fill licks that you can add to those and some things to make them sound better. In the second video, we're going to take a look at a lead break that's played using triads. So we're going to be playing higher up the neck, and the whole thing is played on the top three strings, all using triads, and it's actually a lot easier than you might think. And so we've got this lesson split into two parts. In this video, we're going to go through the first half. If you'd like to learn the second half, which is the lead part, download the tablature, get the MP3 jam track, basically everything you need to be able to practice this. You can get all of that by going to activemelody.com, go to the weekly lessons page and do a search for EP482. All right, let's listen to the first part of that again, get the sound in our head, and then we'll talk about it. All right, so this starts off with a G chord. Good old first position G chord. Now the first thing I want to mention is the way that I'm making the chord. I know some of you make your G chord like this, and I'm going to try and convince you that this is the better way to make a G chord. And that's using your pinky on the 3rd fret 1st string, ring finger on the 3rd fret 6th string, and then middle finger on the 2nd fret 5th string. The reason for that is when you go to your 4 chord, which is your C chord, look how easy that is. In fact, I can even keep that G note there, that 3rd fret 1st string. I can do it so fast, as opposed to me trying to do it this way. It's very difficult. So through the years, it probably took me 5 years to figure out this is the better way to play a G chord. So for some of you, that'll be the big value in this entire lesson, is just getting that piece down. So anyway, that's the first thing, is how you make your G chord. Okay, now when I started with this little bluegrass sort of build into the chord, and I hear this pretty much only over G chords. You hear this all the time in bluegrass, and the G chord lends itself to that quite a bit. And you'll hear that it's just sort of resetting the measure. That's how I think of it. So it'd be like sort of setting up the top of the next measure. Now all I'm doing is I'm on the 2nd fret with my middle finger, 6th string, and just hammering on to the 3rd fret 6th string, and then playing the chord. When I hammer on, I use my ring finger there. Now, the way that I'm playing the rhythm here is I'm accenting the offbeat. So I'm accenting the and of the measure. In a typical bluegrass scenario, or I mean, this isn't just bluegrass, this is country. This would be true of kind of strumming along with just about any style if you're playing strummy stuff. I'm not talking about electric guitar playing funk rhythm or anything like that. I'm talking about cowboy chords. What you would typically do as a rhythm player is you'd play on the offbeat. You play the and your bass player is playing on the beat. So the bass player plays 1, 2, 3, 4. The mandolins, the rhythm guitars are playing the offbeat. We're playing 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So you're hitting those accents. And it doesn't mean that that's all you play, it just means that that's what you're accenting. You're heavy-handed on the offbeat. So if you watch me play through this, you can see I'm doing other things, but I'm heavy-handed on that offbeat. And that's something that you really have to pay attention to, is getting that accent right. If you have to slow things down, that's fine, but just try and accent. Think of holding a drumstick in your hand. This is the best sort of analogy I can think of, is if I had a drumstick, I'd be playing 1 and 2 and 3. I could come down pretty easily with a drumstick. You could hear that. If you translate that to your strumming, I can do other things, but I'm still staying on the beat. Okay, so I started off with just downstrokes on that G chord. 1 and 2 and 3, and then we go to the C. And I did the classic walk up. If you learn nothing else, you've got to get this walk up. Most of you probably already know this one, but walking from the G chord to the C chord, you go open, this is all played on the 5th string, open, 2nd, 3rd. And you play it with middle finger on the 2nd, ring finger on the 3rd, so that you can go into your C chord. So from the beginning we have well, let me count it. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Right? And then watch this. Here's the next little embellishment off of the C. So let me talk this through, then I'll explain where this is coming from. So we're going to start this embellishment on the 4th string, open 4th string, and then we're going to go open 1, 2 on the 4th string. Now that's down, up, down with the right hand. And then watch this. I went ahead, while my middle finger is there on that 2nd fret, 4th string, I put my index finger down on the 1st fret, 2nd string. And I strummed strings 4, 3, and 2. Now what is that? Well, that's just my C chord. It's just the top part of it. I'm just not using the 5th string for this little lick. I guess I could have kept my ring finger there. But for me, it was just easier to take my hand off and think about those middle strings, those strings 4, 3, and 2. Okay, so we have strum. That strum is the accent. And then we go. So that's down, up, down with the right hand, and it's second. Keep your index finger there on that 1st fret, but middle finger goes to the 2nd fret, 3rd string, open 3rd string, and then 2nd fret, 4th string. So we have. Now that's a great embellishment off of your C chord. Look at that. Are you going to walk into it? Now some of you, that right there is all you're going to need to just take that piece and run with it. If you could leave the video if you want and just work on that, and that would give you a lot of meat to work with, because you can use that now anytime there's a C chord and you're strumming a C chord in 1st position. You can take variations of that. It doesn't have to be in that order. Little things you can do, you can come up with melodies. What are these notes? These are just the C major pentatonic scale. Check this out. Well, not this note. That's just a chromatic note. But look at this. That's your C major pentatonic scale. Look how easy that is. For starting on that 5th string. So you can take any of those notes and make fill licks because they're just out of your C major pentatonic. So, from the beginning. Now we go back to the G chord. I just play the G chord like this, and then I went. So look at this. So we're going to play downstroke on that open 3rd string, which is your G note. Strum the chord. There's your accent. And then watch this. That's upstroke. You got to hit that with the upstroke. It doesn't work with a downstroke there. So it's got to be upstroke on the 3rd string. And then middle finger goes down, 2nd fret, 4th string with a downstroke. And then we play another downstroke on your open 4th string. So it goes. So it's up, down, down. So, now what are these notes? Well, I just showed you how to connect the C major pentatonic scale in 1st position to your C chord. Look at this from your G chord. So we were just playing G major pentatonic scale and we're connecting it to our G chord. It's basically, I'm doing the same thing. So on the 6th string we have 3rd fret, and then on the 5th string we have open 2nd, and then on the 4th string we have open 2nd, and then we have the open 3rd. Look. Any of those notes are going to work if you're playing out of a G chord. You can hammer onto them, you can slide into them, you can play chromatically up to them. You can get so much mileage out of that. You got your G chord with your G major pentatonic scale, your C chord with your C major pentatonic scale. All right, back it up from the beginning. Now watch this. Now we're going to the D. And all I did was 2nd fret. Now I'm playing that with my ring finger. You'll see why as we get into it. 2nd fret, 4th string. Then I come up to the 3rd fret, and then I slide up to the 4th fret with my ring finger. And then watch this. This is why I use the ring finger, so that the other fingers can fall into place and play the D chord like this. Now that's playing the D chord really more like the C shape out of the cage system, but we're just playing strings 4, 3, and 2. Actually 4, 3, 2, and 1. Like that. This is just another way to play it, where you've got the same top 3 notes, but you've got this note on the 4th string as opposed to the open D note. So that's what's going on. I'm walking, and the reason I played it with this voicing is because I wanted to walk up like that to kind of copy what we were doing for the G and the C chord. All right, so after the D chord, we go back to the G chord, and that's how I did it. Open 6th string, 2nd fret, 3rd fret. And that's middle finger, ring finger. And we walk right back into your G chord. So that's a great fill to get you back to your G chord. I've also seen that done chromatically, like this. Walking up every note along the way. And then you could do the same thing for your C chord on the 5th string. So there's some other ideas that you can play around with, just kind of throwing these out there, but they all kind of hinge around these fill licks that happen around the G chord and the C chord. That's pretty much it. I mean, there's a lot of repetition for the end of it. There's one other extra little part. Let me back it up from the beginning and play up to that point. Same. And now watch this. So this time for the G chord, I slid up here and played middle finger on the 4th fret, 3rd string, index finger on the 3rd fret, 2nd string. And I'm only playing strings 2 and 3. Now what are these 2 notes? Well, think of your G bar chord using the E shape, barring on the 3rd fret. We're just playing strings 2 and 3 out of that. Now I can walk that down 2 frets this way. So it'd be like playing G, D, back to a G. That's how the rhythm would go. But this is sort of a clever way of doing that. You get the 2 notes from your G chord here, walk it down chromatically. These 2 notes are in your D7 chord, right? And then I went back to my G chord like that and strummed it out. And played it like this. Played just strings 1, 2, and 3 open and accented with the full chord. Okay, now the second part we go into a whole lead break. And goes through all these different things we can do with triads. So come join us in the part 2 video. If you're not a premium member yet, I would encourage you to look into it. Over a decade's worth of in-depth lessons like this, and they're all designed with one thing in mind, and that is to help you improvise and help you be able to pick up your guitar and just jam along with other people or write your own music. All right, let me back up and play this just one more time, and then we'll see you in part 2. So here we go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4.